Why you are power scaling incorrectly. Hello, it is me, Atari HMB, and I'm going to tell you exactly why people get power scaling wrong nowadays. And let's jump right in. So, why are you getting power scaling incorrectly? It's because you are skipping the science, the nuance, and the context. Too many people throw around moon level or planet level without thinking about what those feats actually mean. And today, I'm going to break down why most power scaling debates, especially versus battles, are built on shaky logic. For the most part. Jumping right in without wasting any time, let's first be clear about the types of power scaling there are. There are two types. You have story scaling, how strong someone is within their own series, and you have versus scaling, which is how strong that character stacks up against other fighters from other universes. And we're focusing on versus scaling because that's where people mess up the most. Now let's go over an example of something I talked about on my live stream. One of my favorite debates is Toneri from the Naruto-verse versus Raditz from the Dragon Ball verse. And at first glance, Toneri looks insane. Dude cuts the moon in half, and most people stop there and go, moon level. He stomps Raditz. Well, hold on. Let's actually look at the science. Why the moon cutting isn't what you think. Okay, here's the thing. The moon cutting in Naruto is one thing, but the Naruto moon isn't our moon. In reality, the moon has an iron core, mantle, molten layers, and cutting through it takes an absurd amount of energy, but in Naruto, the moon is basically treated like a hollow rock, and cutting it halfway is less impressive than shattering a real But even if we still man that argument, and I guess the animators forgot to draw molten lava in the middle, which is fine, maybe that would have took too much money, the still part would be that Toneri didn't pulverize or vaporize it. He just sliced it. And if you only split it apart, the pieces would just drift back together because of gravity. That's not the same as blowing it to dust, and scientifically, it's closer to a continent level feat than true moon busting. Unless you truly believe he overcame the gravitational binding, then that would skyrocket into, being about, 1 or 2 exatons of TNT, which is insane. Definitely multi-continental and extremely impressive. Like high multi-continental. But I digress. It still would have its cap there. Because here's where Raditz's argument comes into play. Now compared to that and Dragon Ball, Master Roshi with a power level 180 literally blew up the moon. And we saw the fragmented rocks fall down. However, Piccolo didn't just blow it up, he vaporized it completely, easily. And Raditz is so far above those feats, it's not even funny. Because here's the thing, Raditz literally stood there and took that same level of attack that could vaporize a moon into his face. Yeah, that's really impressive. Even if you argue that Toneri could vaporize the moon in theory, Raditz would just say, that's only enough to singe my leg hair. Hilarious. And the thing is, Goku's Kamehameha at 900 plus, which is that power level made Raditz's hand go numb. Even with that same level of energy, which we're doubling, if you double a pulverization level feat for the moon, you're getting into planetary tiers for the Earth. Which is why, unfortunately, in the power threshold, Raditz would dog walk him with no difficulty, assuming that's Toneri's max. Now again, here's why people get it wrong. So why do people insist Toneri wins? Huh? Well, it's either they understand a couple more nuances that aren't publicized about Naruto, or there's arguments they just don't want to make, or people just don't like math.
I don't.
Or it's bias, the emotional investment. People don't want to accept that an early Dragon Ball villain could clown on a Naruto movie boss. I mean, let's just be honest with you right there. I mean, that's the reality. But that's the truth when you actually break it down. I mean, Dragon Ball is one of those series where they're just insane. I mean, Saitama in the beginning of his series would also dog walk Toneri. So again, it would still come back down to the same result, for lack of a better word. But this is my heartfelt point, okay? Power scaling isn't about hype or who feels like a final boss. It's about the consistent feats, science, and author intent. Clear, cut, and dry. I hate saying this, but it comes down to almost the facts don't care about your feelings aspect. Okay? Every series has its own rules. Dragon Ball is very linear. I mean, each villain is stronger than the last, except Beerus in the Battle of Gods. Naruto is hacked base. Okay? Characters can be deadly through strategy and not through raw power. So comparing the two takes more than just, oh, X cut the moon, so and Y blew it up. It's a lot different than that. You can't just go into that. Maybe Toneri has genjutsus that can screw up with Raditz, and you can make that argument if you guys want. But, like I said, if you want to power scale correctly, stop relying on flashy statements or emotional bias. Like, look at the feats. Not those feats, you idiot! Look at the context. If the math doesn't line up, then admit it. That's what power scaling is. And I know, people have said, well, Toneri could be stronger than Kaguya because he was considered the strongest villain in the promotional material. I know, people said the same thing about Broly over Jiren. I mean, it's just film promotional stuff, and later stuff in Boruto kind of implies Kaguya is significantly stronger than Toneri, so that kind of gets debunked by the own source material from what I've researched. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments below. I'm welcoming it anytime. And again, like I said, what people need to realize is Toneri still could get stronger as the series goes on and by later implications or later statements, or maybe a redefined data book for Naruto will give us more details and insight that they never did before. Because, I mean, they did that with Buhan. We learned that Buhan took a power on par with Super Saiyan 3, which confirmed Ultimate Gohan and Super Saiyan 3 Goku were equals. Just Ultimate Gohan has less of a stamina issue. So that's pretty darn cool. So who knows? We'll get that with Naruto eventually. But anyway, this is why my Toneri versus Raditz proves that most people are power scaling incorrectly and only going for like the feats, the flashiness, and a lot more. But I've got more cases to cover. So again, this is only the first part, and we're going to jump right into the next segment. So let's do it. And this next segment is Kaguya's dimensional creation and why people scale it wrong. Alright, let's talk about Kaguya's dimensional creation. And before you say, oh, he's targeting Naruto again. No, I'm not. Naruto just has some of the best examples to break down bad power scaling. Back in the Google Plus days, Naruto debates defined the whole conversation. So it's the perfect case study. Let's dive in. Now, levels of interpretation. When we scale characters, we got 3 tiers of interpretations. Low end, the bare minimum and least assumptions. Mid end, the moderate and more reasonable middle ground. High end, the most generous and inflated interpretation. Think of it like picking a number between 1 and 10. Low ball is 1 to 3, mid is 4 to 6, and high ball is 7 to 10. That's how I look at feats like Kaguya's dimension. Now, Kaguya is interesting because her power involves creating entire dimensions. The issue is that people hear the word dimension and immediately jump to multiversal being, but that's not how it works. A dimension can be as small as a living room. In Yu Yu Hakusho, Kuwabara needed a space-cutting ability just to break through a pocket dimension, even though he had mountain-level strength. The dimension wall wasn't massive, it was just built different. That's the kind of nuance people ignore with Kaguya. Now, what Kaguya actually does. Kaguya's dimension looks like full worlds, as stars, skies, physics, but that doesn't automatically make her universal or multiversal. What she really shows is chakra efficiency. Think of it like calories. Your body burns 2,500 calories over a day to keep you alive, but if you dump those calories in a single instant, boom! Grenade level explosion. Same energy, different release. That's Kaguya. She uses chakra not just for destruction, but for creation. She repurposes energy like a builder using pre-made materials. She doesn't create anything from nothing, she converts planetary chakra into dimensional space. That's why she's so efficient, almost like a cheat code. But here's the kicker. Creating something isn't the same as being able to destroy it. Kaioshin and Dragon Ball can create stars, but that doesn't make them universal threats. Same with Kaguya. Even collapsing her own dimension isn't proof of insane attack potency. that's more like a demolition or demolishing your house that you built where you know where all the weak points are. So it's easier. It's more of a hack, not just destructive power. So where does that put her in the scaling? Well, I would say personally I put her mid-end at multi-planetary. She's consistent at this level, personally I think, or even close to star level. High-end though, I would say more of a solar system level, argue, and this is if you want to take the most generous interpretation of her feats. I stick with mid-end because the real lesson isn't about whether she's planetary or solar system. I mean, that much is obvious. It's about understanding that creation feats doesn't equal destruction feats. And this is more so against the universal meta that people more so spam around. But the key takeaway is that Kaguya shows us why people power scale wrong. Too often, fans see dimension or pocket dimension and instantly rank it way above what it realistically means. So you've got to ask, how was it created? What energy was used? What sides are we talking about? Naruto is a hack-based series. Dragon Ball is linear escalation, so if you mix the two without context, you get bad scaling. So we should stop treating creation as automatic reflection of destructive AP, which is sort of the versus battle rookie's fault. But I digress. I think that this overall is why I would place Kaguya more in the planet or multi-planetary tiers, but that's not what this video is completely about. Let's move on to the other segment on why people still don't power scale correctly. And the outerversal interpretation. Okay, this segment is where it gets a little funky. This is where power scaling goes off the rails, usually because people don't know what outerversal even means. So let's dive right in. In versus circles, we use dimensional tiering as a shorthand. Okay, you have 3D, 4D, 5D, and each step is an infinite jump over the last. Okay? Are you still with me? Good. Now, stack enough of these and you go from universal, multiversal, up to complex multiversal, and etc. The list keeps going on. This is about magnitudes of infinity, not just really big numbers. So now you understand why we'll throw around the term 4D, 5D, 6D, ED, MED, KD, DD, King DDD, whatever. You get the point. So let's move forward. So what is outerversal? Well, outerversal means beyond any finite or even transfinite dimensional hierarchy, past 3D, 4D, 5D, past to the infinite ladder and stacked of dimensions, okay? It's not a realm with no space-time, that's just zero dimensional, okay? Let's understand that right now. There's no meaningful measurement because it goes beyond the true monolithical concept of space and time. Once you truly understand outerversal, you then understand that you don't no, there's no low outerversal in any normal sense, because there isn't a ruler left to measure with at that point. But here are the common mistakes. They exist outside of space and time, so I guess that must mean they're outerversal. That is a genuine hard no! Not enough. There's not enough evidence. There's tons of pocket realm statements and other series that have those statements. No. The next part. There's infinite universes. Look, that's still an intradimensional. Unless there's a formal hierarchy above those infinities, no. Even then, meta-narrative like, oh, well, he's in a dream realm. It's a dream. Dreams don't have dimension. No. Don't go there, because dreams are all cognitively interpretative. So I don't want to hear that. There's still a limit to that as well. And at that point, it's just flavor text. It's just places characters beyond general dimensions in 3D or 4D space, depending on the story we're following. And therefore, that shows you want outerversal, you need hard evidence, which are cosmologies that state or demonstrate an infinite hierarchy or higher dimensional realms. You also need transcendence that's qualitative, not just a bigger infinity. Explicitly beyond the whole ladder is the type of statements you need. And then you have to have statements and feats showing superiority over beings who themselves transcend multiversal or complex multiversal structures. And if you don't have all three, you're probably at best, well, false outerversal, as I like to call it, or extremely higher into the echelons of hyperversal or infinite hyperversal, whatever the heck you want to call it. But to give you guys some cold examples, we have characters like the pre-retcon Beyonder and the Living Tribunal, who have much stronger textual backing for outerversal talk because Marvel actually plays with transfinite hierarchies and abstracts. You could even argue the same for the Emperor from Warhammer 40k. But meanwhile, you got people over here slapping outerversal on every shonen character because a line said beyond space and time. No! Canon Goku doesn't have the cosmology or the statements to clear that bar. Even Xenoverse and Heroes meta feats, that's high-end territory at best, and still debated. Same deal for other verses who try to force their way into outerversal, such as, hey, look at me, it's Natsu. Natsu's outerversal, guys. And then you got other people saying, oh my gosh, like, guys, I can't believe it, Deku from My Hero Academia is outerversal. No, I'm not joking. There are people who think Deku is outerversal, for crying out loud. Huh? Goodness gracious. And it makes me ask, are you out of your ever-loving god dang mind? Seriously. But nonetheless, that is a real phenomena that is actually occurring, and therefore that's why I tell people, keep that in mind when it comes to power scaling. So, overall, what's the conclusion? Well, the conclusion is, overusing outerversal just makes the tier meaningless. I mean, if everyone is outerversal, then there's no more meaning to it. What the truth is, not a lot of characters are at all. And so we need to keep the tier for actual characters who clear that criteria and actually meet the interpretations. Mid-end and high-end, that's fine, but again, we mostly stick to mid-end because that's the more objective take. Anyway, the main three takeaways from this video is, with Toneri versus Raditz, numbers beat the vibes. Hey, that is what it is. Number two, hacks does not always equal raw AP. It's a nuance. You have to go into the details of it. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, Kaguya did this with her dimension so she could beat Namek Saga Frieza. Well, I'm sorry, Namek Saga Frieza at this point is in the 120 million, when even at 530,000, he blew up a planet with his finger while sitting down. And keep in mind, that planet was 10 times more denser than Earth's gravity, and he did that while laughing, without even trying, and it only takes a power level of 10k to blow up a planet, and given that a farmer with a shotgun is at 5, and someone like Master Roshi at 180 could blow up the moon, the qualitative interpretation in the orders of magnitude and logarithmic scale of power levels would easily put someone like Final Form Frieza into galaxy level.
Jack, you know what this is right here? And then crushing real glass, crushing the abdomen. Go cry me a river.
Which is something that was in the original anime, so mathematically it still adds up. And I'm sorry, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that 50% Frieza, who was galaxy level, punching Kaguya in the face, she's going to just sit there and eat that like breakfast and go, yeah, give me some of that. Yeah, that's delicious. No. Okay, rant over a little bit. Sorry, I had to go a little bit into that. And it's also not to say that Kaguya can't find some intricate way to body Frieza in the same context. But what I'm saying is, overall, guys, understand that hacks and AP are not the same thing, and they're definitely not the same thing as durability. I mean, unless you think Naruto's punch here was the same equivalent as this. Okay. I love Naruto, guys. Trust me, Naruto's still my boy, and he will still fold a lot of other fiction. I still will vouch for him when it comes to fair argument. He's not my punching bag, I promise. I've watched Naruto before a majority of my subscribers have, and I mess with Naruto far more than a lot of you guys think, and I got people who could back me up on that in real life. It's just, when it comes to power scaling, I don't like to mess around with that, because I came at Dragon Ball as well. But the bottom line is, guys, outerversal as the last segment is rare, and we can't just grant people that without explicit cosmology or transcendence or true statements that are going to back it up altogether. So overall, that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Atari HMB, and I hope you guys had fun with this video as I did. Drop your wildest outerversal claims that you've seen in the comments below and tell me which ones actually pass the test. And if you want a full dimensional tearing 101, I'll make a dedicated video to that. Overall, guys, thank you so much for everything. This is Atari HMB, and I am signing off. I'll see you guys in the next one.